So grip training in arm wrestling is way different than any other sport. We have talked about this already for years on this channel, but all the time I see some comments saying like, well, you should go to strongman to get stronger forearms for arm wrestling, or climbers. So I'm going to explain the difference, and I'm going to give you some examples of how arm wrestlers train their grip or their fingers. So it's all about positioning. In arm wrestling, you have this positioning. So thumb is on top and fingers are like this. Depending how big your opponent's hand is, how much they have fill up, it's either like this or even closer like this. So this is position where you should be working on. If you notice, I'm not squeezing anything. Like most times in arm wrestling, when beginners come to arm wrestling training, their instinct is to hold on, to squeeze something, to really try to. And everyone loves it, because I really like when someone really tries to hold on to my arm. It's much easier to open up. So in arm wrestling, it's more about gliding and sliding. That's how I see it. You have to contain here. This is where your finger flexors are involved, and they're mostly in this position where they're kind of flat and static. And your wrist is working dynamic. So that is. Like I'm holding here with this containing and sliding in. It's never squeezing. And a lot of times I'll see guys when they do wrist, even I do wrist exercise like this, but I'm not focusing on squeezing this together, like, because it gets really hard, because you're creating everything tenses up and it becomes much, much harder. But if you kind of contain it with the top of your fingers here and then cup it like this, it's easier. So a lot of times we will see like strongmen coming in, or even people that do grip sport and say like, oh, these guys who like the hand strength is really good. Yes, they will be statically very, very strong. Most of the time their wrist will be very, very weak. And the finger positioning most of the time going to be very open. So if you look at grip sport or something, let's say strongmen are doing whatever, they're going to take grip, and when they lift it, they're going to have position like this. If you notice, my wrist is bent back. In arm wrestling, if you start like this, most of the time it's bad day, right? If you're not a presser, which again, very rarely who is and who can do it really well, it's a bad day because you're holding on something, you're giving up this. In arm wrestling, you want to be flat wrist here or even cupped. More cupped you are, better it gets. So it's complete opposite what we're doing. Second thing is, if you're taking a grip, and you notice in arm wrestling, we're trying to take grip like this with the thumb on top because that's the position of the hand. But if you take a grip like this, see, like, I'll show it here. So my fingers are like this. If I move my thumb back, see how much my finger is going to open up and change position. My knuckle here, sorry, these are my knuckles, and my finger knuckles are over right here. And most of the time in arm wrestling, you're already having your hand open. So you want it to be closed. So this is okay, but in my opinion, a little bit too thick. This will be a little bit better because I have this position where I can keep everything inside, but there's no real going outside. So we will use wedges like this, where the positioning of the thumb can be like this. You can create position like this, and you can work like this. In grip sport, again, there's a lot of pinching and a lot of things like this, where you hold on to something like this in different positions. And again, you're squeezing something like this. In arm wrestling, you're never doing that. Climbing is another one where your fingers are almost all the time extended and you're gonna get this position. Wrist is very passive and it's not involved because you're actually not curling anything like this. This is where the wrist gets activated. Here, you're just pulling it out of position, so the finger flexors are more activated. So a lot of guys that come from bouldering or climbing, they're gonna come in, they will have like solid, like feels like so strong, but as soon as you do some movement, their wrist just doesn't work. If you're an arm wrestler and you do all these things together, I think it can help you, especially at the beginning. But again, whatever you're gonna do too much is the thing that you're gonna be learning to go to. So a lot of guys that do grip sport, they want to hold on to you a little bit too long. They want to contain you a little bit too long. And in arm wrestling, it's not a good thing. Think about it like this. So if I wanna hook someone, I just want to contain them with my fingers and slide in with my wrist. That's how I do it, right? If I'm squeezing, it's gonna be like I need a lot of power just to do this. And you can do some experiments yourself. You can take a handle like this and see how much you can slide in and how much you can when you're really holding it. With the top roll, you want a containment. You never want to squeeze your opponent because you want to go outside. If you have position like this and not squeezing, you'll have much more movement. You will be faster because you can try this. Try really load on your fingers and then try to explode. And then do it from even completely free fingers, and you can explode much better because there's something to twitch, there's some hit on every movement. But when everything's under the load, it's much harder. So I'm going to show you a few exercises that we do as an arm wrestlers to build our finger containment strength right here, together with our wrist position. So the first one we're going to do is focusing more on static position with the maximizing the stress on the fingers, not on the wrist. So I have a board here. We have shown this previously in a bunch of our videos. So I'm going to take it like this. So go from this side. I have a strap like this, and it goes on my fingertips, and I have flat pressure here. I'm going to come down. Everything is on my fingertips. Every single thing is on my fingertips. And I can do static curls where it goes through the tip of my fingers, or I can just do static holds like this. Static curls with the fingers static, wrist dynamic, and like this, and just work from here. Positioning isn't the best, but it builds this really good. You'll feel a lot of pain, a lot of, uncomfort, but it gets better. You slowly get better and better. Again, I'm not going to say reps and sets. You can figure out for yourself, experiment. These shouldn't be the exercise that you do for 1 or 5 rep maxes. These should be exercises that you do for at least 10 to 12 reps or on time. Like if you're doing static hold, right, do it like starting from, let's say, 15 to 30 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, but that's already too much because fingers need a lot of work. They need a lot of volume. You've seen Hermes doing this exercise where he gets, wrist ultra grip handle, and buckle is on outside of your arm, so it's not on fingers. So now it's kind of distributed. Like if I let go of my fingers, it still doesn't escape my grip, but it breaks my grip, right? So you're trying to hold everything inside. You're trying to contain it with your fingertips. And again, 10, 20, 30 seconds. You can also do dynamic curls from this position, but I prefer doing static and really trying to squeeze down my fingers, trying to not let them get open like this. So that's where this exercise really shines. And you can build static flat finger strength in this position. So this is not only one of the best, but also one of my favorite exercises. So I'm using handle like this, and I'm gonna put it on the outside of my hand again, so there's not 100% tension on my fingertips, but it's a little bit distributed between my hand. Again, fingers are working statically or passively, and I'm focusing on cupping. Every time I return to either straight position or even wrist a little bit bend back, and from here cup. Containing with fingers and cupping. Like this will be probably the best thing you can do, especially if you pull a lot in the straps, because it mimics all those motions. So I like this handle because it fits perfectly in position, and I can adjust it how I want it for it to be in perfect position like in arm wrestling. And from here, I can really curl it down. We train our fingers or grip for arm wrestling in static position most of the time because that's exactly how it is when you arm wrestle. But you still need to do some dynamic exercises. So one of the things you can easily do, you can find any gym handle like this. So what you're gonna do is let it go out on the tip of your fingertips, curl it in with your fingers, and then you can cup it if you want, or you can just leave it like that. And this will be a little bit more dynamic movement for your fingers. Let it out, come back in, and wrist if you want, and wrist if you want. You can use bigger handles, you can use one like this, doesn't matter. So that's about grip training in arm wrestling. This is where you are in arm wrestling when you arm wrestle, this position, so you should train in that position to get stronger in that position. Hope these tips help you. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Stay strong, love arm wrestling.